Okay, Bethany, we're going to wrap up our three-part series about what it really means to be a missionary today with a look at moms who work outside the home.
Yeah, how can you be a missionary with your kids and in the workplace? We talked about stay-at-home moms last week. This week we are tackling working moms, career moms. It's all coming up on the Hopecast.
Hey, we're Steve and Bethany, a former radio team turned podcasters.
We're passionate about learning and sharing ways of putting the words of Jesus into practice in real life.
Here we go.
All right, welcome back, Hope Dealers. We are so thrilled to be with you again this week, and this is the third of our series about what it really means to be a missionary. And I hope you're not listening to that and thinking, well, this doesn't apply to me. I'm not going to listen.
Yeah.
No, because actually it does. It really does. We would love for you to go back a couple of episodes and listen to our first one about what we really, and not just us, but what the Bible defines as a missionary, what it really is and what it's really not. Go back and listen to that episode before you try to jump into this one, because that kind of set the foundation for us. So we'd
provide
love
some context.
Yes, and we'd love for you to go back and to listen. But today we're going to kind of tackle how to be a missionary when you've got so much other thing on your plate as a mom. You're working, you've got the husband, you've got the kids, you've got everything in life that is just pulling at you from all directions. How do you become a missionary in that? And that's what we want to discuss today.
Well, we talked last week about being a stay-at-home mom and how sometimes stay-at-home moms can feel, and you said your wife has felt like this a little bit. My mom has felt like this a little bit. That comparison of, am I doing enough? Am I working hard enough? Or am I bringing enough to the table? And I think that could probably be true for working moms as well. Feeling like I've got all of these other things going on. I've got my boss texting me saying, hey, this project is overdue. I've got to pick up Jimmy from soccer practice, and my husband's texting me and saying, what's for dinner tonight? You've got so many things happening, and you still maybe feel like it's not enough, or you aren't able to keep all the plates spinning. I think everybody has felt that way a time or two, like, okay, I can't possibly do any more, but somehow I have to do more. But, I think that can be even more heavy of a burden for moms that are working outside the home, because suddenly it's not just the kids and the husband depending on you, to make dinner and keep the house clean or whatever your responsibilities look like. But it's also all of your other coworkers that are saying, hey, are you going to be at that meeting on Thursday? Or hey, have you gotten that email done yet? Like, all of these other things are happening, and somehow you have to keep up with all these other people.
And here's Steve and Bethany telling me, now I got to be a missionary on top of everything else. Well, here's the thing.
Come on, jerks. Are you kidding me?
Here's the thing. I think hopefully instead of being a burden, because that's not at all what we want this to be, we want to hopefully free you up. This is what the whole hope is to be able to encourage you that being a missionary, we go back to the passage there in Matthew, where Jesus, his final instructions to is what a lot of people call the Great Commission. And the first word he uses out of his mouth is the word go. And so I think a lot of times, and I know I did for a while, and again, we covered this in that episode, but you hear the word go, and it automatically triggers in your mind those people who have to pack up and move somewhere, some faraway land, and be able to talk to a people group that's never been reached before. And that's what a missionary is.
Right.
Well, obviously, I live in the real world USA, and that's not me, so I don't check that box, so I'm not a missionary. Well, really, you are. You really are.
We can kind of disqualify ourselves
before
even realizing, like, well, no, we just have maybe a wrong view of what a missionary is. We aren't understanding that it's about where God has you in that moment, taking the opportunities that he puts in front of you to bring the hope of Jesus to people that need to hear it.
Yes, and a lot of times it means actions more than it does words, because I think a lot of times we all have had those coworkers that just, they seem like they know everything, or they seem like they're always criticizing, or they seem like they're always talking. And when I brought that up, somebody popped in your mind. I know it did. I'm sure it did. The listeners, right? And I know it popped up in my mind. That one coworker that just gets on your nerves because for whatever reason, they seem like they have all the answers. They have all this, whatever. You fill in the blank that way.
Or it could just be somebody that's just difficult to work with.
Yes.
You kind of have to just put your flesh aside and go, okay, I'm not going to say anything back to this person.
Exactly right. So how do you be a missionary? Well, obviously you don't want to be one of those people,
Right.
right? You don't want to become off as being, oh, that's that Christian person. And every conversation is going to lead back to how Jesus loves you, you know, which is not, I'm not going to necessarily say that's a bad thing, but I just want to say that if you are in that situation, that God has put you there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so much about mindset.
Yeah.
Being a missionary means you have the view of, hey, I'm a person that follows Jesus. He has led me to this place in my life, whether it's my work, my husband, my whatever extracurricular boards or activities that I'm a part of, whatever that means, whatever my life looks like, God has placed me in each one of those areas. And I don't think a lot of times we realize that. I think a lot of times, I know we all would say, God is sovereign and God loves me and God has a plan for my life. But when we really start breaking it down, I think we don't necessarily a lot of times realize how God really is in control of every detail.
Well, I think this might be more true when people find themselves in a job that they don't like.
Yeah.
Where they're maybe feeling stuck or feeling just like frustrated at, okay, this is not what I went to school for, or this is not where I thought I would be at 35, or whatever the feeling might be. Just a frustration of, okay, I'm clocking in and I'm just here. And you're kind of going in and almost a numbness throughout your day. I think we can look at, if we're being truly honest and transparent here, we can say, oh, God's brought me to this place and I'm just so thankful when it's a really great job, or when it's a opportunity that's really fun and you're working with great people. It's harder to say that. It's not less true, but it's harder to say that when you're at a job that feels dead end and you're like, none of my coworkers are nice. I don't like any of them, or my boss is just breathing down my neck all the time. And then, you know, maybe for moms are feeling like, I don't like what I'm doing, but I'm here because I have to be, and I feel like I'm missing out of, you know, time with my kids or whatever. It's harder to say, God's brought me to this place and this is an opportunity for me to share about him, when that's your reality.
Boy, that's the truth.
Just being honest.
No,
here.
that is absolutely the truth. But here's the thing. I do think that you are there for a reason. Okay. And maybe God has you there, and maybe he wants to transition you out. And maybe you can have that as a matter of prayer and ask God, hey, what do I need to do? Can I get out of here? And one of two things are going to happen. God is either going to say yes and open up a door for you to leave and go find an opportunity that you really love, or maybe he's going to say, no, I need you right here, right now. And that's going to be hard sometimes, because you're just like what you're saying. Where's the hope? Where's the light at the end of that tunnel when I don't see anything but a endless cycle? Because believe me, I've been there. I've been at jobs like that, and I was miserable at jobs like that. And was I the best missionary? Probably not. But I want you to learn from my mistakes too. So I think the best thing you can do on that is just to continue to say, okay, God, help me in this situation and make me see what you see. And sometimes that works. And sometimes it's like, okay, God will show you, okay, this person, maybe you can't stand being in the room with them. Maybe they just get on your last nerve. Well, maybe you can just remove yourself at some way, you know. There's all kinds of little things, but I think the main thing is, if you find yourself in that situation, just ask God, show me what to do here, because I'm totally out of ideas.
Well, and if anything, the biggest thing that you might learn from being at a dead-end job is patience, or you might learn not to find your identity in where you get your paycheck from.
Maybe that's the question to ask. Maybe that's God, what are you trying to show me?
Right. And then
instead of the complaints, God, I'm unhappy here. God, I hate it here. God, I just can't seem to make heads or tails of anything. Maybe turn that around a little bit. What are you trying to show me?
Right, because it could be something as simple as growing in your patience, or growing in your self-control, or growing in, you know, whatever other the fruits of the Spirit that you need to grow in. Whatever that looks like, I think God has always of course we know this, he's sovereign and he has a purpose for everything. And so understanding that it might not be ideal, but there is a reason behind it. And so then our perspective should change, and we should say, okay, I don't really like my job. I'm away from my kids, or I'm away from my spouse, and that's hard, and this is frustrating. But while I'm here, God use me, and being open in that. I think it's important to, there's some women that are working that love their job and are very, very talented at it. And sometimes maybe it's a cultural thing. There's this pressure of like, you have to do it all. Mm-hmm. You have to work 80 hours a week and put a home cooked meal on the table and make sure you're caught up in laundry all the time and fill in the blank. And I think that's just a cultural thing. Like, as women, maybe we feel like this pressure of we have to be everything and anything to all people all the time. And if somebody's listening that's feeling that way, I would just encourage you to take a step back and look at your life and look at what are you really doing well? Are you loving your spouse well? Are you loving your kids well? Are you doing well at your job? And what other things are maybe preventing you from doing those things as best as you can? Because those are the essentials,
Sure.
Your husband, your kids, and your job. Those are some of the essentials there, not to mention just spiritually where you're at. So I think if there's things cluttering up that are kind of preventing you from performing well at home and at work, it might be time just to say, okay, what can I cut back on, or what can I kind of remove where I'm fully present and then more open to having a conversation with my coworker about the Lord and being, open about my faith.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of times too, there's a lot of guilt that comes in, that mom guilt, because hey, I love my job. Yeah. I really am good at my job.
I wish I wanted to be at home more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's something a lot of moms struggle with too, because that is almost the opposite end of the spectrum of what you were just talking about, because there is such a satisfaction of being able to do a job well and to be thought of by your peers as someone, hey, if I need something done, I know that she can get it done. So that's so good to have that and so good to know that. But I still think the underlying foundation needs to be, and not just me, I don't want to say, well, Steve says this. No, I really think that the Bible explains that the underlying foundation ought to be your passion for what you're doing was given to you by God. Mm-hmm. So you're there because of God's goodness and God's grace, and the talent that you have is all because of him. So since that's the foundation, that you ought to be able to kind of play it forward a little bit and to be able to show others through not just your actions, but through your words as well, of why you're so good and why things matter to you and why you're so passionate about what you do for a living.
I think too, we're not trying to hate on like having a job and being a mom.
Absolutely not.
Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that. I think God, of course, gifts us in different ways. We have different talents. And you see too, Paul was a tent maker, Luke was a physician. Like,
right.
Other people in the Bible, the people that we could look up to and say, okay, they quote unquote had it all figured out. Of course, that's not true, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. For example's sake, they had professions, they had things that they did, but the overarching thing above what they did for a living was that they were passionate about sharing the good news of Jesus. Mm-hmm. So much so that they died for it. That was the passion that they had. So I think that should be our perspective, is there's nothing wrong with having a job and being passionate about it and being good at it and finding satisfaction in what you do. But are you ready and willing to share about the Lord? Are you approaching your workday as a mission field, or are you looking for your identity and your value in what you do? And do you care more about the praise that you might receive from your boss more than taking, an extra 10 minutes to talk to your coworker about God and just sharing about that?
Absolutely. And I had that kind of revolutionary light bulb going on my head. Oh gosh, it's been about 10 years ago now, when I was working for a classic rock radio station. And I looked at my job as, oh yeah, God has given me this talent to do the radio stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I was pretty good at my job, and I wasn't a working mom, but I was a working dad, and I felt like everything was good. But when I kind of had that light bulb moment of realizing that, my life really needs to be a missionary, that God has planted me here. So I need to grow here, not just for my own family and my own success and my own career path, but to grow in him. I started realizing, just the words that you were saying, I started realizing that I needed to be the light here in this building, because you know what? It's pretty dark, spiritually speaking. Now, look, there's so many good people, and I'm still friends with a lot of them to this day. And I told this story in the earlier episode, but as far as spiritual stuff, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of some just out and out anger, some just wondering, and then some just like have crazy ideas about all kinds of stuff, where I could be the person to say, okay, here's what the Bible says. And that is so freeing to be able to, whenever those kind of conversations came up, you know, people would say, well, I think this, or I do this, or I could say, well, you know, instead of me being in it, I took myself out of it and said, you know, the Bible says a gentle answer turns away wrath. You know, whenever I had a coworker that was just how am I going to deal with this person? I was so mad.
Losing their mind.
You know, the Bible says a gentle answer turns away wrath. And I remembered to this day the conversation I had with that person. They were like, you know, that's pretty wise. That's pretty. And I'm like, that comes straight from, that's not Steve. That's not me. And that kind of changed that person's kind of perspective of the situation. Now, did that resolve? I don't know how it resolved out necessarily. But I do know I was being able to be a missionary in that one little bitty small example of a great long 6-7 year run in that position, that I was able to be a missionary. And it was so cool, just from I guess a little bit of a selfish perspective, to know that God used me in that area to be able to present his word in a real life situation where they were struggling of how to handle something. And I was able to bring scripture into it and make it mean something, and not just, well, you know, the soul that sins will surely die. Well, what does that have to do with me right now in this situation? You know what I mean? It was a word to meet the moment. And I think that God, just put that in my mind. I was able to share it, and it made that person comforted for just a moment. And I thought, I'm being a missionary. It just really kind of set me on fire a little bit. I was a missionary, you know? It was fun.
That's good.
All right.
Okay.
All right, we'll bring it back, and we can let's just tease again. Let's go back and listen to the other 2 episodes, and share them with some, if you know a stay-at-home mom, that kind of thing. All right, and you want to bring it back? Okay, here we go.
Well, we're wrapping up this season. Oh wait, hang on.
Do it again.
Cute. Well, we are wrapping up this series on being a missionary, no matter where God has you. So we talked the last couple episodes about what a missionary is and what it's not. Last week, we talked about being a stay-at-home mom and being a missionary in your own home, right there with your kids. And then this week, we're talking about being a working mom. And if I could just say something to encourage a working mom out there, I work, but I'm not a mom, so I'm half like you. Yeah. That's what I'll say. I would just say, if you feel any pressure to like be perfect, or to kind of what I said earlier, be anything and everything to all people all the time.
I think they do feel that. I don't think that's an if. I think that is a true statement.
If you're feeling that, if that's resonating with you, and you just feel this pressure to have yourself be available to everyone all the time, I would just say no. If you're working and you've got a lot of other people relying on you, maybe try and set some boundaries, because at the end of the day, you will make a difference in your workplace if you're open and willing and just asking the Lord, to give you opportunities to have conversations and share about your faith. I know God will allow you to do that. He'll have those kind of divine moments for you to just encourage somebody or share about your faith. But if you're raising kids, they need you too, and you shouldn't feel a burden in that, but I think that's the priority.
Something that we're very passionate about here at the Hopecast is introducing you to the businesses that support us and help them to grow.
And one of our favorite businesses happens to be owned by one of our biggest listeners. It's Tina Clark from Love Your Flair Boutique. It's an online store with tons of super cute stuff, and they just rolled out a bunch of new items just in time for fall. So whether you want an adorable shirt for Thanksgiving or football season, or one with like a Bible verse on it to wear year-round, Love Your Flair Boutique has something that you'll love.
Tina has always had this dream of starting a business like Love Your Flair, but really never acted on it until she realized that by taking this leap of faith to go out on her own, she'd be able to show her kids that dreams can be achieved. Bethany and I have really enjoyed getting to know her lately, and we know that you're going to love her too. So check out all that she has to offer over at Love Your Flair's Facebook page. Check the show description for the link, or just go to StephenBethany.com. Okay, just before we put a bow on this, not only episode, but this entire series, we just want to say thank you for listening, and we want you to be encouraged by it. And maybe if you know a stay-at-home mom, that maybe need some help, maybe some encouragement, would love for you to share last week's episode with them. And if you know another working mom, I hope maybe you'll share this with them as well, because that's what it's all about changing, I think, our perspective to see things more the way that God sees them. When we do that, that's when we're really, I think, hitting on all cylinders as far as our Christian walk. And I think, going back to what I said earlier, we don't want this to be a burden on you, adding something else to be, you're now a missionary on top of everything else you've got to do. No, but really, when we see these from this perspective, I think it loosens the load or lightens the load so that we can be freed up to see things in people the way that God sees them.
Yeah, and I hope that this has been encouraging for somebody that's a working mom that's maybe feeling like, okay, I've got to be everything to all people, and I have to be constantly available for help, and there's always a coworker with a crisis, and I have to be open to that. And I think it's important that we understand that God has you right where he has you for a reason. It might be frustrating or it might be great, but God has you there, bottom line. And so while we can't possibly meet every single need around us all the time, and we should honestly just kind of take the pressure off in that sense, I think it's important that we ask the Lord to guide us to the people that maybe need encouragement or need to even be, told about the gospel. We don't know our coworkers' backgrounds or where they're coming from, but just asking for opportunities in that. Because I think, for stay-at-home moms, maybe they might miss their kids are the mission field. They're able to be with their kids sun up to sundown and pour into them. For maybe a working mom, you get that opportunity as well, but you also have interactions with people that might be very different from you or have different experiences with church or not have even heard about the Lord before. You have the opportunity that's right there in front of you, and sometimes those are the conversations that we just miss. Those are the opportunities that we just skim right by because they're right in front of us, and we think, it's not important. That's just the person that shares my cubicle with me. Why would I have a conversation with them about the Lord? They probably already know, or something like that. We can miss those opportunities right in front of our face. And so I think that's the bottom line of this whole thing. If I could just share that, would be ask the Lord to just open your eyes to the opportunities and to the people that need to hear about him.
And I think when we have that mindset, that really does free us up. I really do. I know you could listen to that and say that sounds so burdenful, but really I do think if you have the right perspective, it will free you up and make you see your position as, okay, first and foremost, I'm a missionary here, no matter whether I'm, sacking groceries or I'm, a world-renowned chemist or something. You know what I mean? Wherever God has you placed, he's got you there for a reason. And seeing it from that perspective, I think helps.
And too, if you're feeling some burden of, okay, I'm not at home with my kids 24/7, it might be true. But if you're sharing the gospel with your coworker, what a story to be able to come back and tell your kids about and to say, hey, hear about what mom did at work today. Hear about the conversation that she had, and kind of opening up that conversation and allowing them to hear about how God is faithful no matter where you're at, how he provides us opportunities to talk to people. We need to be open to that. I think that's a great conversation that you would be able to have with your kids in that moment.
I think, and that really kind of circles us back full circle, because that is as you go. You had the opportunity for that conversation at work. Now, as you go on home, you have a chance to share that experience, and it just, as you go, just be a missionary. I love it. I love it. I love the way that plays out. So we want to thank you for listening this week. We appreciate you being here. And before we get out of here, we want to tell you again about our gift box giveaway.
Yes.
I like that. Maybe that's what we should call it, the gift box
giveaway.
We've got some T-shirts and stuff from Love Your Flair Boutique from Tina. She is providing these. If you're watching our YouTube video, you can see the couple of different shirts we have here. We've got a cap down here. I'll reach down again. I just step away from the mic. and we'll show you the cap too. And so
I love
many,
the front of this. It says he is in the waiting. I think that's so good.
Yeah.
And that's literally all of Tina's designs.
Yes.
They're so cute.
Yes, there's all kinds of stuff, whether you're looking for like graduation T-shirts or maybe just mom T-shirts. She's got so many of those and so many kind of designs and colors. It just is a wonderful thing. And when you talk about Tina as a person, she's a single mom. She's a mom that's a working mom, like we've been talking about, and she is trying to do what God has called her to do. So, I mean, we'd love for you to support her in this adventure that she's got as she supports us, and you get great merchandise. She helps us. You help her. It's just a wonderful, wonderful little circle.
She's so great. She's been a great friend to us and super encouraging. And I do love her story, how she has had this burden on her heart to make super cute t-shirts and caps, but also use that business as an opportunity to tell her kids about stepping out in faith and starting something for herself. That's been kind of a journey for her. And so I love her story. Obviously, the merchandise is super cute, but that's kind of an aside to her story. So that's what I love about Tina. And of course, Love Your Flair Boutique. The link to it is down below in the show notes, so you can check it out. Also, we're doing that little giveaway.
Yes, the giveaway box is going to be at our website, StephenBethany.com. You can sign up for it. Right there, it'll pop up. You'll see the first thing when you get there is a little landing page that pops up. Notice that cool little term, landing page. I'm so hip. So the landing page.
I think that term's been around for a while.
Well, it has. But
whatever.
You get to sign up there. It's absolutely free to sign up. And we want you to do that because we'll be giving it away really soon. At the end of October, we'll make the announcement of who won, because we'll have Love Your Flair Boutique stuff. We'll have coffee mugs. We'll have coffee. We'll have all kinds of fun stuff that we're going to box up and just ship that little package of hope and joy right into your life.
Right to your doorstep.
Right to your doorstep.
Right there.
That's exactly right. Hope in a box.
There we go. We're going to go and go ahead and tell you about how to register. Like Steve said, it's at StephenBethany.com, StephenBethany.com. Also, while we're finishing up here, I want to say thank you to Blue Stream Media.
Yes.
BLUstreammedia.com is the place to go for all of your AV needs, no matter what event you have coming up. TJ does an incredible job as a total pro. BlueStreamMedia.com. And again, our website, StephenBethany.com, is the place to go for archived episodes and videos or contests like the one we have going on.
I want to say a real quick thanks to all of our patron supporters who join us on patreon.com/StephenBethany's Hopecast that have seen the vision, and it really is a little community in and of itself. We'd love for you to check it out. If you don't even join, that's okay. Just go check it out. Click that link, see what we're offering. It starts at $5 a month, early and ad-free videos of this podcast. We'd love for you to join us and help continue to grow the podcast as well. And then if you get a chance, share this episode. Share the fact that you love Stephen Bethany. If you do, if you think we've earned it, let people know.
And even if you don't, share about it anyways.
If you find encouragement, please let your friends know that are in the podcast. Hey, I love this too. They're crazy. They're off the wall. They're just like us. Let's listen. So,
yeah, we so appreciate everybody that's encouraged us through this podcast. And like we said earlier, word of mouth is the best advertisement. So tell your friends about us. Other than that, is that about it?
That's it. Good night, Olive Branch.
Thank you, guys.